Welcome to the Tall Girl Tuesday podcast. It's your girl Danny, and on this week's episode of News and Libations, I have a little story time for you guys. You know, I love when you guys interact. I want to know your thoughts and opinions and feelings about the things that I discuss. But first, let me go ahead and let you guys know what I'm drinking. It's a Jameson and ginger ale type of night. You know, I'm the whiskey girl. I'm the wine or the whiskey girl. So you usually catch me drinking anything besides those two, the two W's, wine and whiskey. Those are my besties. So yeah, that's what's on tap for tonight. I have a little story time for y'all because these are the types. I was watching a YouTube video, and one of the girls that I watched, she was discussing how she never really says no to a guy when they ask for her number. And she's a younger girl, and I thought it was dope that she's so mature enough to know that men get offended a lot of times and want to become aggressive when you even say no to exchanging contact information. So she was on her page talking about how she never says no. She'll give maybe a Google number or some other type of number, because people get slick now. They'll try to call in front of you. So she'll do that rather than just to say no or, act a certain way or uninterested, because it can get real. And I've had it happen to me before. Men don't really like that. They don't really like when you literally just respectfully decline their attempt to pursue something. So I understood what she was saying, and it made me think about something that's not really related to that, but it made me think about a little situation that happened to me when I worked for the mayor's office for a summer program. So we was on break. We was on summer break from school that I was working at the time. And so I worked for the city, for the mayor's office for a summer program. I was the lead person. I was a supervisor over the kids that worked at the hospital. So I had to do their time sheets, their time cards, check up on their supervisors to make sure that they were doing their jobs and things like that. So I was on location at the hospital every day, but I also had to check in with the actual program at least once or twice a week. So there's a guy, I was one of my coworkers there, and I'm pretty much nice to everybody. If you speak to me, I'll speak to you. And if you don't speak to me, I won't speak to you. I'm not rude, but I'm also not I already said I'm introverted. So I'm not the person who will spark a conversation. But if you start talking to me, of course I'm going to respond. So you got to understand the dynamic of this program. And the way it's set up is you don't really, for me, I was, like I said, I was working out at a hospital, so I didn't really see my actual coworkers that often. But mainly on Fridays when we just had to check in and bring in the time cards for the kids and stuff like that. So I was kind of the person that you see passing by, like a breeze. Okay. And one of the guys who was in charge there had asked me to hang out. Now you have to realize that he's somebody that hangs out with a lot of people at the office. It wasn't exclusive to me only. So it was a weekend. Now everybody, of course, had each other's numbers because we had to communicate with each other all the time. And he was let's go out. Do you want to go kick it, hang out or something? So I'm all right. I mean, it's a Saturday night. I'm not doing anything. Why not? Now, I'm very funny about people knowing where I live. So at first I was a little hesitant, but I was at the end of the day, if he wanted to find out where I lived, all he had to do was look through the paperwork because he had access to it. So I was all right, whatever. I let that part go. So he came and picked me up. We went out, had a few drinks, just sat at a little spot. It was actually La Rouge. If you're from Jersey and you're from the Essex County area, it's in Newark, and it's called La Rouge Lounge. So we went to La Rouge and we was just hanging out, kicking it, whatever. And I remember him saying something about, like, let's take a picture. I'm like, all right, fine. That's cool. I didn't think nothing else of it. Now, I have to advise you guys that I'm not on Facebook, haven't been on Facebook since Lord knows how long, years and years and years, probably when I was like in my early 20s, if so. Now, granted, I did recently start a Facebook page for this podcast platform back in May, but I deleted it within a few months because it's just not my jam. I don't like Facebook. So I'm not a Facebook type of girl. So the night went on or whatever. We went to McDonald's and he dropped me off. That was Saturday. So finally, when I get back to the office, which had to be like a Monday or Tuesday, went there to check in. I see people looking at me kind of funny, like, just staring at me kind of weird. And I was just sitting there like, well, what's the problem? Like, did I offend somebody? Am I about to get fired? Like, what? So basically, finally, I ran into my homegirl and she was looking at me kind of funny, like, oh, I didn't know you and so cool like that. I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, yeah, I saw your pictures all over his Facebook page, and a couple of us was in here looking like, okay, that's a little bit like, where'd that come from? And I was like, what you mean my pictures were all over his Facebook page? So she pulled out her phone and showed me. It was literally like me and him in the picture, like not doing anything because we weren't doing anything, but it was just like, I guess surprising that they was like, oh, what they doing hanging out? Like, I could understand how that would look shady to other coworkers. So I told my girl, I'm like, listen, this ain't that. Like, this is not what it looks like. This is not what I don't know what the comments he wrote made it seem like it was more than what it is, but people do that sometimes. Gassing the situation that needs to not be gassed. And so that's the way it went. So I was explaining that to her and she was laughing like, yeah, girl, that's like the talk in the office. And I was like, oh no, see, this is what we not going to do. Let me tell y'all, I asked him about it and I thought about it for a few days because I really don't be liking confrontation. I hate situations like this. But at the same time, I know it's like, you're not going to sit here and act like it's more than what it is when it's not. And so I text him like, hey, I'm hearing a bunch of talk around the office that you posted my picture on your Facebook page. Can you please delete it? And when I tell y'all, he went off on me, off. He was like, first of all, you knew I was going live and all this and all of that. I asked you to take a picture. I said, yeah, I don't mind taking a picture. We kicking it or whatever. But what is live? Now, keep in mind, this is way before, I guess, Instagram had live. Facebook had it way before. I'm like, I don't even know what live means. I'm explaining to him, like, I don't have Facebook. I have no idea what you mean by you went live. So I'm not understanding what you mean by that. He was like, yes, you do. You knew what I was doing. You knew I was going to post. I said, we never had a conversation about you posting anything because you didn't even ask. And I said, again, I don't even know what live is. So then I had to go reach out to somebody else and they showed me what a live is. And I was like, looking at it like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that even existed. Again, I didn't have Facebook. So when I tell y'all, he got so disrespectful, calling me all kinds of bitches. I'm a weak bitch. I don't even like you. You ain't even my type anyway. Now go run and tell that. Like, so disrespectful. And I couldn't believe that this man was talking to me like this, all because I asked him to remove a picture. I was so, now mind you, he's like a little off anyway. I feel like seen him black out in the office a couple times. And so now at this point, I'm like, oh my God, he's going off on me, being disrespectful. I have to work with him and he knows where I live. So now things are starting to get real weird for me and I'm starting to feel really, really uncomfortable. And when I tell y'all at least 10 messages back to back to back to back, disrespectful, just blatantly being rude. And I had to say to him at some point, how are you talking to me like this? And you're the father of a daughter. You have a young woman that you are, you have full custody of, and you are, raising. How dare you talk to another woman like that, and you're raising a woman? Would you want somebody to talk to your child like that, your daughter specifically? When I tell y'all the disrespect, I've never experienced anything like that in my life, all because I asked him to remove a picture. And I tell you, I was so nervous, like checking my surroundings when I went outside, just like making sure I didn't see that little whatever he drove sitting on my block. Like, I really had no idea what this man was going to do to me. I was so nervous, and I've never been in that situation before. So I had to like talk to the boss about what happened. And I'm like, listen, this is what happened. I am extremely uncomfortable, and I can't believe he was being so disrespectful to me. So you have to realize I'm the newbie coming in for the program. He's been working here for God knows how many years. But the boss was actually the husband to someone that worked under my grandmother. You get what I'm saying? So here's how it all connects. And he was like, listen, I understand. Let me know if anything continues. And I had to tell him, like, listen, I told dude, like, I have to block you at this point because you're not going to continue to disrespect me in this way. When I tell you messages after message after message of disrespect, of talking about how much he doesn't like me, which is obviously just showing me that you really was feeling me more than, which is telling me that you really was actually feeling me and it wasn't reciprocated. So now your feelings hurt. And it got to the point where it was just so uneasy. But thankfully, like I said, I did not have to be in that office maybe once or twice a week. And it's only like in and out to drop off papers and to keep it pushing. So I was able to like get through it. Him and I hadn't spoke since. I'm assuming the boss said something to him, but at the same time, I'm sure his loyalty was to him and not me. Because at the end of the day, I tried to go back there the next year and they were like making up excuses saying I waited too long and that. But I really think it's because of that situation. They didn't want me to be back. And I was like, you know what, that worked out for the best anyway, because I don't want to be working in a hostile situation like that anyway. So I just want to know, what do y'all think about that? Ladies, have you ever been in a situation where you turned down a guy and he just went like crazy? And how did you deal with that? And it makes things even more uncomfortable in a work environment. So just imagine how heavy I used to feel even having to walk into the building. It was ugly. I want to know, just based off of what y'all have heard, was I being naive or like maybe missing the signs that he was attracted to me more than he was in the beginning? Or was he just straight out tripping? That's what I want to know. Am I being naive or was he tripping? And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to support your girl, support the platform. Follow me on YouTube at Tall Girl Tuesday, the podcast. And as always, thank you for tuning in.